Getting older can be challenging, but what are some things you have enjoyed as you have aged? Story 1. I like that I am still able to play a good number of video games, even though some people tried to convince me I would not be doing any of that when I was a real adult. Story 2. I have run out of concern about what people think of me. If I want to wear bright colors, pastels, or anything else I think looks cool, that is what I will do. Story 3. It took me 30 years to realize that being of service to people is the key that carries you through any situation, both good and bad. If I am present for other people, my problems fade into the background, and what used to be insurmountable hurdles are overcome with greater peace. And ask for help. Please do that. Take care, friends. Story 4. Much more financially comfortable now. On one hand, I still have the same worry about making ends meet that I had in my 20s, but on the other hand, I now have a solid financial cushion to fall back on. So the worry keeps motivating me to keep doing what I am doing, but in the back of my mind, I know I do not really need to worry anymore. Now it is just about continuing to save. Story 5. All the complaints about your body aching, being sore, and so on are not always relevant. If you are active, work out, and do not have a physically demanding job, your body is actually very good at being fine. Story 6. If you eat right and exercise, you can still stay in shape. It is often said that your metabolism slows down and you gain weight. However, this is not an inevitable part of aging. Story 7. My social anxiety is starting to get under control. I think being older makes me care less about what people think, which lets me be myself more. Story 8. There is a great scene from a movie, I forget which one, where the main character boards an old airplane in a remote country. Panicking at the age and wear of the airplane, the old lady next to him says, "Isn't it crazy that they would put us on this old beat-up thing? I'm sure it's been flying for more than 50 years. And to think, in all those years, it's never crashed. Not once. This must actually be the safest plane you've ever been on." I remember waking up one birthday morning and thinking, I've made it through everything up to now and I'm just fine. I'm not going to be afraid of anything anymore. It's not true every day, but in large measure, I am much braver now than I was when I was younger. Story 9. How easy it is to ignore extremely attractive women if they are toxic. If your brain is not constantly seeking sex, you gain much more peace and clarity. Story 10:1. Not caring about what others think of you and accepting that you may be the villain in someone's story. I am continuously changing and becoming different versions of myself. Your friends change, some for the better and some for the worse. Friendships end, whether by you or the other person, but everyone's priorities change, and true friendship is one where you can reconnect as if you just saw them yesterday. I'd much rather stay inside or go to sports bars, museums, or relaxed places rather than clubs or parties. Also, if there is little to no parking at places, I either use ride-sharing services or do not go. My outlook on women has changed. Currently, I am in a long-term relationship and have been in one in the past. The difference is very stark. Temptation is around you, but you are also self-aware enough to realize that the grass is not greener on the other side. I still play video games when I want to relieve stress. Story 11. Honestly, the ability to not give an expletive about anything anymore. I couldn't care less about being cool, keeping up with the Joneses, impressing people, or what others think about me, especially those I don't personally know. I do what I want without worrying about others' opinions, and that confidence comes only with time and experience. As far as aging goes, this is a really positive part of it. Story 12. My top 3. 1. Realizing the magic of compounding by looking at my investments initiated 10 to 15 years ago. How my thinking process has matured compared to just a few years ago. Not giving too much thought to other people's opinions. Story 13. We spend the first 20 years of our lives trying to fit in. We spend the next 40 years trying to stand out. And we spend the last 20 years not caring about other people's opinions. Who do you think is least annoyed by others' opinions among the three? Story 14. Emotional maturity means being less quick to anger and realizing that walking away with your head held high is better than escalating any conflict. This is a much more masculine approach than getting into squabbles and fights over inflated egos. Story 15. realizing that I do not have to do or try everything in the world to justify my existence, and that I can and should focus on my niche interests for fulfillment. My life outside of work can just be Dungeons and Dragons, community theater, and metal festivals, and that is perfectly fine. Story 16. I understand people much better after gaining a wider range of experience with them. I do not always like how they think or act, but feeling less mystified has been a relief. Story 17. I was called a dad I'd like to friend by a 21-year-old woman I work with. I am 42 years old. I did not expect this kind of attention in my 40s. Story 18. Not gaining weight, not losing hair, and not experiencing any health problems or my body deteriorating as I was told it would. Story 19. When you are young, you often feel anxious, preventing you from being present and enjoying the moment. After experiencing significant losses such as people dying, illnesses, and economic setbacks, you finally accept how difficult life can be, but your life still goes on and you stop being anxious about it. So what if she leaves you? You will be okay. Losing your house, money, and health is hard, but at least you had some fun years. Women's constant anxiety stops bothering you. You act with care but still have a good time while doing it and actually enjoy the situation. Story 20. Letting go of insecurities and being overly hard on myself. In retrospect, it was such a waste of time and hardship, missing the recognition of what a decent human I am. Younger men, just let go and love yourself while always remembering to learn and become a better person. Story 21. Like another poster said, I do not value material things as much. Growing up poor, you would see a high-end car or jewelry and think, oh, I want that. Nowadays, I can get by with whatever I have as long as my family is well and my house is good. I guess realizing that most of what I worried about growing up turned out to be immaterial. Story 22. Looking at my 3 healthy children, aged 17 to 24, making their way in the world and all still happy to call me and share their experiences, worries, and excitement for the future. Everyone says what wonderful children I have, and I realize it is not by accident. I am a very proud father. Story 23. How much hotter I have become. As a teenager and even into my mid-20s, I was overweight and considered the ugly duckling of my friend group. As I got older, I let my beard grow out and became really dedicated to fitness. I lost a lot of weight, leaned out, and transformed my fat into muscle. Now I look very good and constantly receive compliments from women. My sex life is extremely active. I always dreaded getting older, but getting older has been the best thing that has ever happened to me. Story 24. The world generally gets better as an introvert. I no longer feel pressure to only do things in groups. I can go to the movies, eat dinner, or just go to a sports bar and watch a game without feeling weird being alone. Story 25. Sleep comes much easier. It was something I always struggled with, but now I actually get tired when I am supposed to and sleep restfully. Story 26. I am surprised that I look younger than I am. I may have gained weight, but people still do not believe my age until I show my identification. Story 27. I think throughout my life I am astonished by how far I have come. I was born with a condition called hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain. I developed a hole in my heart and suffered multiple seizures in the incubator. I grew up with learning difficulties and eyesight issues, faced hardships making friends, was predicted to have poor academic outcomes, and I had to prove everybody wrong about what I was capable of. I have bounced back from many setbacks and triumphed over them. I spent years dealing with mental health problems and doubting myself, but now I am moving past all of that by not wallowing in self-pity. I was a broken boy who has managed to heal over time and become a man who is strong, joyful, and wants to connect with others. Not many people are wired the same way as me, but everyone has their personal preferences regarding who they want to be and what they want to do. Story 28. Wisdom and aging well. Not as young or naive as I used to be, and still in the process of always learning and growing into a better man. Story 29. I'm 50 and am way more healthy and energetic than I thought I would be. I am on medication for high blood pressure, so there is that old guy stuff, but the practical impact is not that bad. It does not come for free, though. Exercise and diet are no longer for gains. It is mostly maintenance. Story 30. People take you more seriously. Once I turned 30, people began trusting my experience and opinion more. They needed less convincing and evidence. Story 31. The realization that I can be authentically myself. I no longer care about others' opinions. In high school, everyone is so quick to judge whatever they feel is abnormal. In adulthood, do what you love. People will find it cool. Story 32. Being overlooked by security. When I go to concerts and festivals, I usually smuggle my own drinks in. In my experience, the older you look, the less security pays attention to you when searching. Story 33. Well, I am definitely healthier, wealthier, and wiser. I think people find me more attractive now than ever. 2. Girls stare at me in public places or very obviously avert their eyes when I glance in their direction. Including girls who are way too young for me, it is still flattering though. Story 34. I don't know if anyone has experienced this. I was never really a womanizer in my teens. But now, at 32, I get so many stares and attention from 18 to 20-year-old girls. It is kind of annoying. I can barely chat up a girl my age though. Story 35. It is finally dawning on me that I know exactly who I am and what I want out of my life. I decided to focus on my health and started personal training a year ago. I just turned 40, and my wife says I am now the sexiest I have ever been. I do not care about having a big friend group anymore and am really pleased to have 4 very close friends whom I have known for years and regularly hang out with, as opposed to when I was in my 20s and early 30s. Back then, I was trapped in a cycle of people-pleasing and needing to have a bigger social network to feel validated. Women in their late 30s and 40s are much more attractive than women in their 20s. I did not expect to feel this way as I aged. Story 36. Put on weight more easily. I was always looking weak or too thin in my 20s, but now in my 30s, I managed to maintain a higher mass, which makes me look better and stronger. Story 37. You get dad reflexes around age 30, whether you have children or not. Sometimes I surprise myself by grabbing something I have knocked off a shelf midair that was just in the corner of my eye. I have always been clumsy, so I feel like I have Jedi reflexes or something. Story 38. I'm 60 and haven't cared about anything for a couple of years now. They weigh a lot and take up so much room in my pockets. Story 39. My brain has calmed down and allowed me to be a little more patient when trying to figure out where life is going. I am not as panicked about every little thing. I still deal with mental health, of course. But many things that used to make me want to cry in the corner from feeling overwhelmed just do not seem to matter anymore. Something goes wrong? Oh well, we will find a solution at some point. I have become more accustomed to the old adage, why worry if I cannot resolve that right now? Story 40. I improved my appearance in my 30s and have the most confidence in my looks in my 40s. This has led to the best sex of my life during this decade. All that happened is I grew into my frame and look better as a middle-aged man than I did as a skinny college student. I am fortunate with my hair genetics, and I have learned the fine line between cockiness and humility, which is called confidence. I am not a gym person and never have been. I consider myself average in appearance. However, once you pass 40, if you maintain your physical condition, you seem much more attractive by comparison. I eat healthily, do basic calisthenics, and stay within a target weight range. I am much better with women now than I was in college, and also much better sexually than I was back then. Story 41. I learned that even though confidence does not build on its own, my capacity to care steadily decreases. Story 42. I have more mental discipline and patience than ever. I am more willing to do uncomfortable things for longer periods of time. It no longer bothers me as much as it used to. Story 43. You reach the I don't care moment when you feel comfortable wearing and saying what you want and what you mean. Story 44. I have enjoyed being able to choose what I do, such as going camping or staying home and doing crafts. Story 45. There is an invisible bar set high regarding general respect when interacting with anyone. Elders may see you as young, but no longer just as a kid. As someone who went straight into automotive sales at 18, working in a face-to-face sales setting, having the person across from you see you as an equal peer or trusted professional is a night and day difference from being a 23-year-old trying to convince a 60-year-old to pay $50,000 for a Honda Odyssey. Also, there is the wisdom that comes with age, recognizing what actually matters and what does not, without even thinking about it in regards to friendships or relationships. It has been around 14 months since I last saw the person I consider my best friend, and it does not matter at all. My ex used to think I was hiding something or would get suspicious when I left my phone at home in the evening if we went out to eat. When she asked, I would just say, "You got yours, right? Okay, we are good then if you need it." She would get visibly anxious if it vibrated across the room, and I would just let it be. Being able to attract and, not to boast because I am nowhere near perfect, but it really becomes easy to connect with single women of all ages is a part of this. I am better at everything I do than ever before. I do not play full-contact hockey anymore, but that is by choice. I make more money than before. I have a larger extended network of friends, acquaintances, and professional connections than ever before. Nearly everything in life is easier now than it was in the past. Having few, if any, barriers that prevent you from doing something in the moment aside from your own laziness is always nice. The pride and sense of accomplishment that comes from looking around sometimes and thinking, "I have been here 4 decades now," and giving yourself a pat on the back for it while feeling excitement and enthusiasm for whatever time is left and what it has in store. Story 46. I am under 30, so my answer is like this. I liked how I became smarter, more relaxed, and more mature. I am proud of how relaxed I am compared to before. Story 47. So many people are more jealous than unkind that we do not have children. My girlfriend and I have been together for 20 years. I am so glad I did not bend to the pressure of marriage and children in college. At 50, my hobbies are gardening, painting, bowling, and traveling for concerts. In the winter, I coach middle school wrestling, which I have done for over 20 years. We are not beholden to any schedule other than our own. Story 48. Gray hair and not caring about what people think. The older I get, the grayer I get, and I welcome it. I also give zero concern about trends, popularity, and what people think of me. I am happier for it. Story 49. Nothing works. It is frustrating, everything hurts, and every day there is a new problem. I used to fear death, but now I am ready for it. Story 50. Confidence level. Slowly learning to love myself and understand myself better. That has also led to me making more friends, talking to women, and being more comfortable around people in general. I have become more discerning in who I talk to and want to engage with. Story 51. Caring less about things that do not directly affect me. Life is too short to care about unimportant matters. Story 52. Ability to detect nonsense and be less tolerant of it. Show more compassion and empathy, heighten awareness of what is truly important, passing on what I know well, watching my son step into manhood. Story 53. Not caring as much about what other people think, say, or do, especially as it relates to me, has been a significant personal victory. Story 54. 2 things for me. I am surprised at how women are much more forward with me. I never saw myself as attractive, no matter what I did. But in the last year or so, my confidence peaked as I started to accept who I am and not care so much about what others think of me. With that came new experiences I'm not used to, women giving me attention. I am also surprised at how many guys come to me for advice. I work in a vape shop, and many 18 to 21-year-olds hang around and tell me about their worries. I feel like I have many little brothers now. They're all scared and worried about the future, just as I was. Now I can share my wisdom with them. Even older men who have seen more than I have hang around and talk. It's funny because we say men don't talk in society, but we do, just in spaces where people understand us. I would really love to start a group for men, but I am always working and don't have time to do things outside of work yet. Story 55. Experience, I suppose. Having life experience enables one to navigate relationships and situations effectively. I now have a considered and measured approach to difficulties, which I did not possess in my earlier life. Story 56. How much experience pays off in day-to-day life. Knowing how to fix something that breaks. Identifying red flags in people. being able to try new things in recipes, etc. Story 57. I am 42 years old and fitter and more attractive than ever. I had some abuse issues in the past, so I always thought I would look horrible at my age. Story 58. I am not even 35 yet, but I like that I am developing a higher sense of community engagement through volunteering and paying attention to local politics and events. I thought I was going to be playing Halo with my friends all day for the rest of my life, but my priorities have changed. I want to make a difference and leave my mark on the world in a positive way. Of course, I say that as I sit here wasting time on Reddit. Story 59. Valuing my intelligence while maintaining a healthy level of humility in my ignorance, being humble about being wrong, and having a willingness to learn more at every opportunity. Story 60. It's genuinely funny to me what people expect I know just because I am older than they are. Someone once assumed I knew about opera. I do not do anything mean with it, but it is just funny. Story 61. Things make sense quicker. I think if I had gone to university at the age of 30, I would have understood much more of what was taught. I have a better understanding of the world. Unfortunately, that also makes me see how ugly it can be with all the suffering. Story 62. The number of women and men who show interest in me increases as I get older. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. Story 63. Everything becomes less magical every year. I find myself enjoying things significantly less, especially when it comes to holidays. Call me Scrooge, but I have not been in the Christmas spirit for years. Story 64. My air conditioner broke. Cost me $7,000 to get a new one. I just did it. Writing the check did not hurt. It is a long way from the days when I could not drive to my girlfriend's house because I did not have money for gas. Story 65. As a man, less drama but bigger problems. There is almost no drama in my life. People had some issues when I was in high school or even early in my military service. But in the past 4 years, the only time something close comes up is if it is something major like a family emergency. Unfortunately, my girlfriend is in the exact opposite situation. So much drama happens on her side with friends and family that it does bother me sometimes. Story 66. I receive more handsome compliments. I want to thank Yellowstone and specifically Rip for transforming the bearded dad body into something attractive. I hear it often. Story 67. This past weekend, with plenty of random people nearby, I asked my wife, "Honey, pull up my pants a little." As I carried something that required both arms, she grabbed the waistband and pulled up my pants, and I just kept going without the slightest concern for what anyone might think. I later realized how nice it was that I no longer cared about others' opinions. Story 68. Beard. I look good with facial hair. I would look even better if I took the time to trim it. I currently look wild, but also very attractive. Story 69. I never expected to outlive my first wife, but I did, and that was hard. Finding and marrying my second wife, knowing we were not having children together, helped me find someone who is not just my love but my best friend. Chapter 2 can be a wonderful thing. Story 70. How patient and supportive a good partner can be. I did not expect someone to really stick with me through difficult times, but it has made a huge difference. Story 71. As a kid, I always tried to fit in. From having meningitis to being diagnosed with epilepsy and being bullied, it was traumatic and really affected me. But as a 30-year-old adult, I really do not care anymore. Weirdly, I feel more seen. I used to talk to and see many friends, but honestly, it feels good not to see or talk to them every day now. I also improved in my late 20s, which gave me a big confidence boost. I don't party anymore, and my body and brain thank me for that. I've always been a go-with-the-flow type, but now I have boundaries. Overall, I'm just a happy, chill guy now. Story 72. At 47 years of age, I still have many people tell me I look only 30 to 35. It annoys my 50-year-old partner endlessly, but it is a nice ego boost. Story 73. Not worrying about things that used to bother me when I was younger. My self-confidence has improved as well. Story 74. With experience, I think you learn how to navigate things better. For example, Oh man, I'm so depressed. Oh wait, I haven't slept in 3 days, that's probably why. Or instead of eating out, you get better at cooking. Stuff like that. Story 75. How little I care about fitting in anymore. That seemed so important when you were in your teens, but it just doesn't matter by the time you hit your 30s. Also, the fact that I'm not totally up to speed with popular culture is totally fine. Discovering new slang that has been around for years, or fads that were popular on TikTok 6 months ago, I don't mind that they changed what it is and that I'm not with it anymore, even if what it is feels weird and scary to me. Story 76. Clarity in who I have become, the people I surround myself with, and the life I am currently building and living. Also, the calm need for peace always. Story 77. Even though I'm still the fat kid, I'm far more handsome at 45 than I was at 25. I see some of my old photos from the early 2000s and cringe at some of the fashion choices, hairstyles, and odd things I tried with my facial hair. I've grown into wearing a full beard, even as more gray hairs appear, and hair as long as Dave Grohl's. Fashion-wise, I stick almost exclusively to black t-shirts, sometimes plain and sometimes old band shirts, along with hoodies and mostly black and gray pants and shorts. Basically, I found a look that works for me and stick with it rather than experimenting with random styles. Story 78. The world expects less from you. You no longer have to worry about struggling to reach the top. You have a reliable filter that works really well. When someone talks about how much they have done, you look at them and think to yourself, I have shoes older than you. Story 79. Caring less about impressing strangers and more about protecting your peace. Also, deeper sex, better friendships, and realizing that slowing down does not mean giving up. It means choosing with intention. Story 80. How much calmer I am. I am 33 years old, and my favorite thing to do after a long day is go home. I used to be the person who was always out and about. Now I am just relaxing, and it is awesome. Story 81. 70-year-old male. When I was younger, looking ahead to life, I was fascinated by any technologies that were emerging. Now that I am older, I long for the days when there was less modern technology. Story 82. I have a long list of minor ailments that all add up to significant discomfort. However, I am free, happier than I have ever been, and sometimes I find myself sitting, staring out the window and smiling. Story 83. Caring less about the opinions of others. Just being myself all the time and devoting energy to my life, home, and activities. Retired life. Story 84. I can gain weight more easily. I have more strength when I work out. I used to be a hard gainer, but now it is much better. Story 85. How my priorities have narrowed. I can focus on the things and people that matter and mostly ignore everything else. Story 86. Being more approachable to younger women in terms of mentorship, advice, or just a safe ear is part of my nature. It is much easier than having to work through assumptions or apprehensions, which tend to be an issue at a younger age. Story 87. I am actually very happy with how my body and mind have aged. Am I perfect? Of course not. Do I need, or at least sometimes feel the need to fix or work on negative aspects? Of course, yes. I finally feel acceptable on multiple levels. I am in tune with myself. It only took 42 years. I hope every one of you feels the same. Story 88. A few things. People always talk about feeling like they are falling apart in their 30s, but I started getting active and focusing on being in shape in my late 20s. I used to run seasonally before that. I feel great, and while every now and then I notice a little pain, it is uncommon. Otherwise, I feel stronger and better than in my 20s. I feel better about myself. In general, I feel like I have settled into myself. I feel more competent and have a better vision for myself and my future. People take me more seriously, even people older than me. My ideas are treated with more weight, and I am treated as more of an authority on things I learn or know. It is a nice feeling. I am 37, by the way. Story 89. Women are much more sexually available than they were 30 years ago, and women of all ages are still available to me. I had more than my fair share of partners when I was in college, dating about a dozen women from 1984 to 1988. Adding this to my high school total of 7, my total was 19 when I graduated from college. Back then, this was a pretty respectable number. I have since been with approximately 125 college students in my mid to late 40s. My total number of partners has now reached around 225. Story 90. Having a teenage daughter who does not yell too much with me and does not act cold often, but based on her first 5 or 6 years, I kind of deserve it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.